This is my review of the 2011 Cadillac CTS-V Wagon, and here's how it's going to go. Unlike every other review I've read or seen, I'm not going to cross-reference Clark Griswold, Family Truckster, or National Lampoon's Vacation. However, for you fans of me that think I look like a certain actor, here from the film is Ed the Salesman.
Now, I owe it to myself to tell you, Mr. Griswold, that if you're thinking of taking the tribe cross-country, this is the automobile you should be using, the Wagon Queen Family Truckster. You think you hate it now, but wait till you drive it.
See the resemblance? Forget it. Listen, I'm going to tell you right up front, I'm going to like this car. And not because of the 556 horsepower, supercharger, Brembo brakes, or Recaro seats. Because what Cadillac is doing here. To be successful as a car or a brand, you have to have a unique look. You have to do things that don't follow the pack, and you have to do things that are buzz-worthy. And Cadillac is doing all that with this car. So Eugene Levy is my connection to wagons, and that's about it. We don't have kids. I don't go bulk product shopping over at some price club, and the closest I got to a wagon was Mom's Pinto Country Squire. So why did JF and Rich ask me to drive this car? Well, maybe it's because they think I'm the resident shoe, and this V series is one hot car. Truthfully, there are only a few Cadillacs I'd want to drive. There's this, the Sienne, the mid-engine concept, this old Le Mans race car, pig that it is, I'd still want to drive it, and the Cadillac V Series. But it wouldn't have been a wagon. Imagine though if you blindfolded me, plugged me in the car and set me loose, I wouldn't realize that this thing is a wagon, and that's one of the cool things. In fact, the weight distribution of this car is more balanced toward the rear. It's why it has a smaller rear stabilizer bar and still get the handling. And I've been told the drag coefficient of this thing is better, so literally at terminal VMAX, the wagon's faster than the other two. Why didn't they make the race car though? Whatever. The other thing that makes this car cool is what Cadillac's working on to make a name for itself as a brand, and that's the art and science thing, which is both style and technology. In terms of styling, there are enough cues on this car to tell you this is something different and seriously cool. In terms of technology, I'm shifting the Tremec 6-speed gearbox. I'm sitting in my Recaro seats. I've got an Eaton 4-vane supercharger pumping out the 556 horsepower and 500 plus foot-pounds of torque. The car will pull from 6th gear. When you get the suspension on its touring mode, and you do feel a difference between its sport and touring, the body feels pretty stable, pretty secure, and when you hit the brakes, there's no real nosedive. One of the key things that make this V car perform so well is the magnetic ride control, which is really a magnetically controlled shock absorber. As opposed to mechanical valving in the shock, there's metal particles in the fluid. Electrical charge runs through the fluid, and the particles line up. The more they line up, the harder it is for the fluid to move around. The particles become the valving. Step on the gas and shift the gears. This car goes 0 to 60 in the 4 seconds. You turn the corner, G meter on the dash, we'll get it up to 0.9. It's not going to do a 1 full G, but you know what? This car at 0.9 G, that ain't bad. There's a supercharger gauge too, which is marked all the way up to 15 pounds. Honestly, I didn't get it up that high, but you know when you go that route, watching the needle move on the supercharger, comes a foot race with the needle on the gas gauge. One of the realities of this car, the 6-speed gets 14 miles per gallon city, 19 highway. You're stuck with a $1,300 gas tax penalty with the manual, $2,600 on the automatic. But if you buy into the whole theory of this car, you're going to want the 6-speed manual anyway. You know, and that's another little thing that is a Leo observation. If we're going to have art and science in this car, if we're going to be modern and leading edge, believe it or not, I'm done shifting a stick shift. I want a manual transmission that has the paddle shifting. It's in all the race cars. It's in the new Corvette that's running at Sebring this year. Give me my paddle shifts. The only paddle I can get here are frankly buttons on the automatic. And that's not cutting it for me. The reality of this car is that it's really not about being a wagon. It's a statement car. And quite frankly, on a number of levels, it has very little competition. The Audi A6 is close, and it's got a 19-inch wheel package, like the 19-inch wheels on this car, and some performance tricks, but it doesn't have a full blown-out performance series on the wagon. BMW, they've gone all crossover and abandoned performance wagons completely. There's no 5 wagon. The closest you can get is the 3. Volvo's gone crossover CUV, SUV. So when it's all said and done, this really is a unique piece of kit for the American roads. Believe it or not, here's the car that I would compare this Cadillac CTS-V Wagon to. And it's another Cadillac, the 1957 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham. Limited production, like this wagon. Blend of technology, performance, and style, like this car. Where this has its high horsepower supercharged engine, that one had 300 plus horsepower. It had air ride suspension, which was the leading suspension of its day, unlike this magnetic. So all the pieces came together. Google that car and check it out. I'm telling you, Cadillac is repeating history, but the good Cadillac history. This is FLD Tours. We're lost in New Jersey. I'm Leo.
Ow, we're living in the fast lane, baby.